Hi everyone. This is actually a bonus episode. As it's December and it's the Christmas season, I may be uploading some bonus episodes to bless you and to share with other people to remember the reason for the season. Having said that, this episode is actually called The Reason for the Season. I couldn't stand Christmas. I was tired of it, sick of it. Every year from about mid-November, when the lights go on and you start seeing all the Christmas things on the shelves, I was fed up, had had enough. In fact, you probably started seeing all the Christmas things from just after Halloween. Working in a big retail store, Christmas is a nightmare. Hundreds and hundreds of people come in and out of your shop, bothering you with this thing and that thing, trying to get gifts for their family, needing this size and that size. Oh, it was so exhausting. We're open later, which means, well, yes, you get overtime, but it also means you're on your feet for like 12 hours. And it's exhausting, and people are complaining and moaning and griping constantly and stressed. They're stressed, so you're stressed. They're angry, so you're angry. They're upset, so you're upset. It was on and on and on every year. Without fail, I hated the Christmas period. I could not wait for it to be over. Well, about mid-January when, the sales had finally finished and everybody had calmed down and possibly got the Christmas blues or the January blues. That was where my best time, because I could then relax. That's when I would take my holiday. Because guess what? I was always working. Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, thankfully, not working, but then I had to go and suffer through Christmas dinner with my family. So, apples and oranges, as they say. I think that's what they say. I don't know. But this year changed everything. Changed my whole perspective of Christmas. It was the same thing. We had been preparing, getting our stock ready. I sat through countless meetings about our inventory, making sure we got all the stock ready, prepared to help customers, make sure that you're attentive, despite how irritated and annoyed most of the customers would be with us and how snappy and waspish they would be. We had to make sure we were attentive. Well, at least that's what my manager said. Whether some of us were, who can say? But this year, I got the wonderful task of being an elf for the Santa sleigh hut. Yes, that's right. I had to be one of the elves ushering in the children so they could sit on Santa's lap, tell him their wish where they ask for the latest thing, and then get some cheap gift from our, back of stock that we had left over from last year. They wouldn't get what they wanted, but it was something, a little gift, who knows, a little toy or something, fidget spinner, who knows. But yes, I was chosen to be an elf, to my great discomfort and irritation. And so, there I was, ushering, screaming, shouting children, babies crying, mothers stressed, shouting at their children, they were on the verge of tears themselves. And I was on the verge of tears myself, trying to get everything in order, trying to usher people up to Santa. It was a nightmare. At one point, I almost quit because I'd had enough. And I don't know if I could do this anymore, but I needed the money. I've always needed the money. So here I was, working, hot, sweaty, in this itchy elf costume, trying to corral these screaming children. And I looked over to my left and noticed one of my colleagues humming. I kid you not, she was humming some sort of Christmas carol with a sort of pep in her step, as if all of this was a wonderful time at Disneyland. And there she was, setting up a little display. I knew who it was the religious one. She had asked our manager if she could set up a display for the nativity. Now, I know that they're quite funny about that. They're funny about religious things. They no longer call it, some people don't call it Christmas, but they call it winter holiday. But she had asked, pleaded, and she had been told, yes, you can set up something in the very, very corner of the store not to draw attention away from Santa. And so there she was, with a pep in her step, carrying some, I think they were little dolls or whatever, to put together a nativity. And I didn't understand what she was so excited about. I mean, she was moved right to the back, so people could barely see her, but she seemed really happy, really excitable, and I didn't really get it. And so I'm there, struggling not to lose my temper with this mother who seems to think her precious darling can do no wrong. And my colleague is happily skipping along back to the back in order to put together this nativity scene. And I don't get it. Why is she so happy? She should be miserable like me, because this is an awful time for us. This is so busy. Everybody's stressed out. We're working overtime. We're exhausted and tired and dead on our feet. And, why, oh, why is she so happy? Why is she so full of pep and excitement? I honestly don't get it. But hey, it's not for me to question. So anyway, after I'd finished my time with Santa and got out of that itchy elf suit and was just now in the break room resting, trying to take some paracetamol to deal with my headache, she came in, whistling and humming again. I think it was Silent Night or Oh Holy Night or one of those songs. And she was so happy, and she sat down, and at that point I didn't understand it. So I had to ask her, why are you so happy? Why are you in such a good mood? Like, do you not see what's going on? Do you not see the carnage, the sheer horror that is the Christmas season of shopping? Why are you so peppy? And she said, and I kid you not, she said, I love this time of the year. I was like, are you serious? She said, yes, I absolutely love it. And I looked in her face, in her eyes. She was absolutely telling the truth. She loved this time of the year, and I was baffled. So I said, why? What on earth could you possibly love about this time of year? And she said, it's celebrating the birth of Christ. And I kind of was a bit bemused and bewildered and said, okay. And she chuckled and she said, this is such an important time of the year. It's a beautiful reminder of peace, love, joy, and hope that came all wrapped in this beautiful baby that was born. And we remember that every year. It's so special to me. It's so special to those of us who are believers. And I love this year. I love it. I love this time of the year because it's an opportunity to really honor that. Okay, I said. I still didn't really get what she was going on about. I wasn't religious. I didn't grow up in church, so I didn't really know what she was talking about. I mean, I roughly knew the nativity because we did it in school, but I just didn't understand why she was acting like that. But, she was free to do what she wants to do. So I said, okay, that's fine. And turned to go back to my lunch, and she came over and sat with me, and I thought, oh, I shouldn't have invited this. But she said, look, I get it. I may seem crazy to you. I may seem cuckoo. I may seem annoyingly cheerful. I said, yes, you do. And she said, I know. But I have a joy, a contentment, a peace that can't be tamed. That's inside. Nothing, no one can take it from me. I sort of was impressed. She wasn't backing down. And she seemed joyful. She seemed happy. And I said, well, you seem happy. She goes, no. It's not about happiness. It's about joy. And I was like, well, what's the difference? She said, happiness is based on the circumstance. One thing's happened, you're happy. Another thing happens, you're sad. It's often circumstantial. But joy, it's unending. It's even in your darkest hour, you feel a joy. It's even in the moments where you're crying and in tears, you feel a joy. You feel a contentment. That's joy. And that is something that Jesus gave me, and it can't be taken away from me. Wow. I need some of that joy, is what I kind of muttered. And she said, you can have it. I was a bit uncomfortable with where this conversation was going, so I was trying to quickly shut it down and said, yeah, I better get back to shift. So I did. I quickly packed my stuff away and hurried back out to the floor. I'd rather deal with customers than the awkward where direction this conversation was going. I didn't really want to indulge her in this. But I kept thinking about that joy, about that peace. From time to time, I kept looking at that nativity, thinking about joy and peace and love and hope. I know I needed those things because life was hard for me. And she seemed to have it all. Who was I to argue? Because she was genuinely joyful and she seemed at peace. She clearly had hope, and the way she was acting was full of love. So maybe there was something to what she was saying. I began to start asking her after that every day about what she meant in the Christmas story and why it was important to her. And she very kindly took the time to keep telling me what it meant and why it meant so much to her and why it was so important. Eventually, she invited me to a Christmas concert. And I'm not really one for church, but I thought, okay, I'll go. It was beautiful. The songs were so lovely, the carols, the readings. I was touched because it was so beautiful, and I did feel moved how sincere they all seemed and how genuine and kind they were. And then she got up to speak. And what she said, this is my favourite time of the year. The birth of Christ is so important because I'm reminded of God's plan for all of mankind. That we shouldn't perish but have everlasting life. He sent his son in the form of a babe who grew up to be a man who would one day sacrifice himself for all of mankind. It started with a baby and ended with our salvation. Her words were profound and they did touch me, and I thought, wow, it sounds serious and I don't know how to respond to that. Then she said, next year, I won't be around to see Christmas. There were whispers and murmurs, and I was sort of confused. Is she travelling? Is she moving away? She said, I know I've only been given so long left to live. And I couldn't believe it. What was she saying? That she was dying? And her very next words confirmed it. She said, I've been given a few months to live. I have cancer. So it's looking very likely that I won't be here next Christmas. It's terminal. But I smile and I have joy because I know my Saviour. And I know my God. And I'm so thankful that I have a relationship with him, that whether I live or die, I feel joy because I belong to him and I'm not worried about death. I'm not scared of death. I know where I'm going and I'm going to be with him. And I celebrate this Christmas because it's a beautiful, beautiful reminder that without him coming to earth as a babe, I wouldn't have that joy, that hope, that peace, that love. I sat in that seat in the church, tears pouring down my face. This woman was terminal and yet she was smiling and laughing and joking like she'd won a prize. She knew she was going to die, and she wasn't moved by it because she knew where she was going. She had joy. She had peace. She had love. She had hope. So I approached her the following Monday at work, and I said to her, wow, I don't know what to say. She said, Jesus. He's the only one that matters here. And I really hope that you heard me, because he loves you. And if he could do it for me, he could do it for you. She passed away 6 weeks later. It progressively got worse, her illness. And I went to visit her often. And one of the times, my last visits to her, she said to me, have you made your decision yet? And I was sort of thinking, trying to play oblivious. What decision? She goes, I'm serious. I would love to know that I will see you again one day. I'd love to have that assurance. But you can't do this for me. Do it for you. Because trust me, it'd be the best decision you ever made. I went home with that knowledge, and to be truthful, thoughts had been coming to my head all week about my life, about what it all meant. And I had been feeling this pull, like I needed more. And what she had described and what I'd seen in her was more. Her life showed me there was more. Her life, in spite of death, showed me there was more. And so that night, after speaking with her, I got to my knees and I cried out. And I repented. And I gave my life. And I can't tell you that I had some big encounter. I wasn't whisked off my feet into heaven. I didn't see a flash of light, but I felt that peace. I felt that joy come over me. I felt warm all over. I smiled because I was so happy. Something was different, and I wasn't just happy, I was joyful, I was content. I was excited to go and tell her. I went to the hospital the next day because I didn't want to waste any time, and I saw her and she was weak and she was tired, and I could tell she probably didn't have long. So I said, I just wanted to tell you, we're family now. She looked at me and she smiled. She said, I'm so pleased. I've been praying for you for years, and I'm so pleased. Only thing, I'm just sorry I didn't get to spend longer with you in your new faith. She began to tear up, and so did I, because I wish we could have spent more time. By the end of the week, she had gone to be with the Lord, but I was so sad and yet happy because I knew she's with the Father, and I know I'll see her again. She showed me the reason for the season. And now I love Christmas. And I'm the one who puts up the nativity, and I fought to move it to the front of the shop so everyone can see it. The reason for the season. Jesus Christ our Saviour, born.